Hello and welcome to the Design Podcast at thetrustedhousepainter.com. My name is Paul, and today on our show, we've got Melissa McKenna, and she's the City Sales Rep Manager from Sherwin Williams here on Vancouver Island. Today, we're going to be talking about the exterior summer lineup for Sherwin Williams products. Welcome to the show. How are you, Melissa?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, you're welcome. And I really appreciate you coming on the show and giving our viewers some feedback, some design tips as well, where we're going to talk about at the end of the show, nearing the end. But first, we're going to talk about some products. I'm a professional painter, and I've got a few jobs lined up for the summer. And now that it's beautiful outside, I'm starting to prepare these. So what I generally do is I reach out to my reps, my paint reps, and ask advice. My clients want to go with Sherwin Williams, so that's why you're on the show today. So thanks so much for being on the show. And what I want to get started with is the first job that I've got coming up. It's a brand new spec home, and it's the hardy board, batten board with the comb face pine trim. It's a beautiful brand new house, and it's never been painted. So I'm wondering, what would you recommend as for a product for that?
So this is a really common house, especially on Vancouver Island if you're in the West Hills area like myself. And there's a couple different things that I would recommend. Really, if you're a professional painter, you know that you have preferences on what type of paint you like to use. But before you even begin, I would definitely recommend using the Loxon concrete and masonry primer. The reason
really?
for that, yeah. So, well, hardy at its core is concrete boards, right?
Yes.
I don't know if some homeowners know that. I might have been guilty of myself at one point, but it is concrete, and you really want to make sure that you're using the right primer for this, not only to bond, but to stop any efflorescence or any issues later on down the road. Actually, I'm in Courtney Campbell River right now, and there's a lot of homes that have hardy siding where the two boards meet. You can see a moisture or discoloration. And I don't know if you've seen that before, but that's normally because the hardy board wasn't primed properly before the color was put on.
Interesting. Now, like a lot of the time people caulk those gaps, but sometimes they don't. So is that moisture coming from the inside or outside of the house, or is that just moisture dripping down the side, getting into that crack, or do you know? Or
I think it could be either. Like normally the siding that I have seen has been caulked, but it's still, they could have been caulking in not ideal weather. Normally, if it's a spec house, it's been put up fairly quickly. But I honestly think moisture is getting in there somehow, and it's coming out, and it's discoloring and getting trapped in there by an acrylic coating, right?
I see. Sorry, go ahead.
If you were to use the Loxon primer, that actually, it almost acts like at a minuscule level a screen door, and it's going to allow moisture to pass back and forth.
I see. And it creates a better gripping surface for the paint. That's the
100%. Yeah. So it creates a little bit of a profile. If you're going to go on top of it, I would recommend for the highest level of protection, the Loxon self-cleaning paint. Actually, it's a new paint. It's has this new technology where the paint actually dries on an inverted angle. So it's pretty technical, but basically anytime it rains, any dirt that's able to cling to the house, it makes it harder for dirt to cling to the home. And then once it rains, it actually washes that away. And that's what we use on actually a couple of our Sherwin buildings in town here. That's, I understand that not everyone's budget is going to be made out for self-cleaning paint. So if you were to go with 100% acrylic coating, like our A100, which many of our builders do, that's a great system there for you.
So you'd still use the Loxon primer for that?
I'd still use the Loxon primer. With the Loxon masonry coating, it's the self-cleaning. It depends what type of board you have, because depending on your builder, your home could already have pre-dipped, primed hardy board siding.
That's right.
You would be able to tell this by if you had some water and you shot it at the side of the house, just with your hand, literally. If it's beating and the water's rolling down, even like just a little bit, you most likely have some sort of primer on those boards. If you're throwing water at the side of the house and it's absorbing right in, it's probably not primed. And then that's where I would recommend using a primer.
That's great advice. That's great advice. I've used Loxon before on a building downtown. That was a couple years ago.
The Old
And
Fellows Building.
yeah, the
Odd
Oddfellows
Fellows,
building.
sorry.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that the birds fly over top of it, and it shoots down their droppings all over the side of it. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they went with Loxon. And to this day, every now and then, after it rains, there's no more bird droppings on it. So I can attest that it does work. It is self-cleaning, but it is a little bit more expensive than the A100, right?
It is a little bit more expensive, but again, I'm going to talk about this product later on for a different type of substrate. You really, do you want to be yelling at your spouse to hose down the back of the house before people come over? Or when it rains, especially on Vancouver Island, do you just want it to have some self-cleaning properties? I think on hardy board, A100 is more than acceptable. It is also something that stucco would probably catch dirt more than your more smooth hardy board. So
Yeah.
It's really up to you. I do like the Loxon self-cleaning. However, though, because it has a really nice finish that mimics the same sheen as the hardy board, whereas the A100, you're going from flat to satin, and hardy board normally is a low sheen. Oh, you know what? Actually, I forgot A100 comes in low luster now.
Okay.
So, you can pick literally anything, but I like that lower sheen when it comes to, that kind of concrete hardy board look. And either of those products would allow you to achieve that.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So it comes in a flat, a low sheen, and then I guess higher sheens as well.
And a satin, yeah. I wouldn't go higher than that. Some for trim, I would recommend that. And that's one of the substrates that you're also probably going to see on a house like this, that comb face pine trim.
I was going to say, let's jump onto that, because all the windows are vinyl windows. So we're not painting those. We're not painting the soffits, the metal aluminum soffits, but we will be painting the comb face pine trim that's surrounding all the windows and all the trim. So what product would you recommend for that?
So this is you would think that just being trim, it might be a little easier. This is actually going to be a harder substrate to coat. So normally this comb face pine trim, it is builder grade, meaning that it's not a lesser grade. It's not as it doesn't have that meticulous of a process once it's getting applied. It's not pre-primed trim. It's cut the way it is to kind of just put it on. So You're going to have a lot of cuts that are made, and they're going to be very porous. So similar to MDF, you'd want to prime this with the Extreme Block Alkyd primer, actually. So that's going to stop your edges from swelling due to if you used a water-based primer. And it's also going to just have a better grip on that wood.
I see. So the acrylic latex, I guess you could use it, but the oil base is a little bit better for the cut ends, like you said, when there's raw wood. Plus, you said it prevents the swelling of the ends.
Okay, so when you're doing your angle cuts,
yep.
Hopefully you have someone who's caulking it properly.
Yep.
But even on the side cuts, it's just, you can tell that it's more porous, right?
Yes.
So if you don't have that properly sealed, eventually your trim is going to expand and detract in the different weather that we have. And I've seen houses actually where it separates the corner caulking from each other and even kind of takes that trim off. And I'm sure some homeowners, even as I say this, or painters, you've had this issue before. If you were to just seal the comb face pine trim with an Alkyd primer instead of a water-based primer, you'd find that wouldn't happen. I won't say completely wouldn't happen, but it won't happen nearly as much.
No, that's great advice. So that's the Extreme Bond or Extreme Blocker?
Extreme Block, and it's an exterior stain Alkyd primer and sealer.
And you'd put that right on the comb face pine,
right
all over.
Direct to it. Yep. So that's your primer, and then after that, it's most trim I've seen a couple of houses with the brown or black trim, but it's white. If you were to use A100 on top of that, and you're using that on the rest of the house, it would be great. I would always recommend a higher sheen for trim, but I know I've seen this trend where we're going lesser sheens as well on homes. You used to have the low luster and then semi-gloss trim. I've even seen flat and then satin or low luster trim. So that is really a design choice for the homeowner.
Yeah, I think that's 85% of the time they go with a flat or a satin sheen body with a semi-gloss trim. Semi-glosses, I find, tend to hold up. They tend to be a little bit harder. I don't know if that's 100% true or not, but I find that they're a little bit more resistant to scratches, to cleaning, especially if you've got moss on a certain side. It definitely holds a little bit better than the flat that has no sheen, right?
It definitely does. It helps moisture to bead off the surface more easily as well, right? So
Yeah.
I do like the semi-gloss trim. I'm also guilty. I've seen some trends coming out of Toronto where you have flat walls and eggshell trim.
Yeah, I've seen that.
On the exterior as well. So it's really, again, is a design preference. If you are going for longevity, a semi-gloss and a satin or low luster combo, semi-gloss on the trim, satin or low luster on the body of the house, that would be the best recommendation.
Perfect. That's great. Well, then that's probably what I'll go with that project. So I really
Yes.
appreciate those And the client, I think, is going with off-whites colors. So it's going to be really quite simple to kind of cut those lines in so that they're not too harsh, right? They're not right on each other, and you don't have to create too crazy of straight lines. So white on white is a pretty easy, two-color combo to go on. So my next project that I've got coming up, it's probably in the middle of summer. I've got this older cedar shake house. The whole house is cedar shakes, and the south side and east side have taken a beating. The house is about 15 years old. I think it's only been coated once, and they used a semi-transparent stain on it before. Now, I don't know what product they used. All I know is that it was a semi-transparent stain. You can still see some of the wood grains. It's a light grayish blue color. But at the end of the day, it's really burnt off. I've got to put a wire brush to it and scrape off some of that. I'll also wash it well in advance. So I assume a lot of that will kind of come off, but they want to try and maintain the same semi-transparent look. They love that look. So what would you recommend? What would Sherwin Williams have for that product?
Paul, honestly, for this one, I don't think you could have given me a harder project to do. So I hope any of my peers watching forgive me.
This is a difficult one. Like, a lot of people deal with this. I see these cedar shakes that are semi-transparent, so they've got a little hint of paint in them. And if you don't maintain that on a regular basis, they get burnt right down to nothing. And people like that look. So it's a challenging one, but you're going to see it more and more as we come along.
So I actually have been living in a house off of Langford Lake that had this exact cedar shingle that you're speaking of here. And it really, I'll start from the beginning because there's a couple different options when you say that you want to take it down and get the exact look that you had before. So the problem is that you don't know whether it was an oil or a water-based stain, right?
That's right, yeah.
So first and foremost, it depends how much work and where your budget's at. So I think that this is an area where a lot of painters make mistakes, is that they don't have honest conversations with the homeowner. And the homeowner has unrealistic expectations of where their home could be. And what I mean by that is, to expect a job being fairly cheaply done when the painter is going to have to go through the agonizing task of putting on a remover, bristling that down, rinsing it off, really reviving that original wood so that they can get it back to its former glory. That's a lot of prep. And this job is prep. So my first recommendation would be test whether it's oil or latex. That's a very easy test. Get a little mineral spirits and see if you're taking off any of the previous coating.
Okay.
I say that, but also on this old wood, you might think that you're taking it off, but it's actually the wood's so old that you're taking off oil and you think you're taking off latex. So my best recommendation is always to remove the former coating completely. I have a product called Super Deck. It's deck and siding remover. And that actually you put on, it comes in jugs and you put right on your home. You leave it for 15 minutes, you wash it off. Once the wood's at its previous bare, that's where you can start to make it look like that original semi-transparent. So I hope I didn't go too on a tangent there, but I want to emphasize matching a previous color and getting back that former glory is going to be a process. And I would always recommend taking the wood back down to its original form and then getting a color match from there, which is easy. You save a little piece of the original shingle, bring that into your local Sherwin, and we can match that in a new stain for you. there's a couple stains to go with once you're at that step. So my first recommendation, being eco-friendly and being on Vancouver Island, is the Woodscapes polyurethane semi-transparent stain. This is also a great stain if you're doing it on your own and you're a homeowner. It's more forgiving than an oil stain will be. So and as you're listening, I hope you agree, because you're going to be able to have, it's going to give you more window for error in case you're not keeping quite that wet edge. You know, you do the one coat, it's not perfect. This is a 2-coat product. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be able to better apply this, painter or homeowner, just a little bit easier than if you were to use our Super Deck oil stain. That also comes in very limited colors because we just have that pre-mixed as is. Now, there's another recommendation that for this, if you would like to hear it.
Absolutely.
It's to forgo stripping down and to give up on the hopes of getting it to its former glory and choosing our Super Deck hybrid oil stain instead. So
is it a solid stain? Is that what it is?
It's a solid stain, but it is a true stain. It's not going to be, you're going to be able to see the richness of the wood come out, and you're going to be able to see that natural grain a little bit better than if you were to use a water-based solid. And the reason for that is it's just acts. It is an oil, right? It's a hybrid oil.
So it penetrates better. Is that right?
Penetrates a little bit. It's actually a little thinner than our Woodscape solid, which is a water-based product. It's going to go on a little bit thicker than this, our Super Deck hybrid line.
Okay, yeah. So the problem that I've got is that we're only doing 2 sides of this house. The other sides are still in pretty decent shape. So I don't know if they'll want to go with the solid stain. However, I have done that in the past, and I think that's a great idea, especially if you can't ever get it back to where, especially that semi-transparent. If you don't maintain that, it's very difficult keeping that up. So so you would recommend using the Super Deck cleaner first to help relieve some of that paint, some of the old fibers. That's great information. I will definitely use that when I'm washing down the house, and that'll probably do like a big chunk of the prep. And then I'm going to wire brush it. And then you'd say probably your Woodscape oil, you say?
Yeah. So actually to wire brush it, if you use a stiff bristle brush with this product, because it just goes direct on, and it's actually quite thick. So it's meant for horizontal application. You can just use like your regular scrub brush or like a really stiff car washing brush, which is what I would recommend. And then you would just wash it off. So if it's only 2 sides and you're trying to match, then I would definitely recommend using the wash. It will help you save on sanding. You get that wood back down to its original form, and then you're going to be able to bring it back and have a match to the other 2 sides of the house that are in good shape.
Yeah, the clients are not stingy. They want it done right. They understand that it's 85% prep. And then once it's ready, you just slap on the coat of paint or the coat of stain, and it should be pretty easy going. So they understand that it is mostly prep, and they're willing to pay for good work. So that's really good advice. I think I'll go with the Woodscapes and definitely wash it down with that product that you had said first. But we're going to top coat the trim all around it. And ironically enough, it's the comb face pine again, and it's been painted. So what would you recommend to put on top of that? Like a Duration product or A100 again, or what are you thinking?
If it's previously been painted and you've had, and the job looks like it was done very nicely the first time, Paul, I would just go ahead and do 1 coat of Duration on there. So that's going to just brighten up the white again. It's going to adhere really nice to whatever coating's on there, and especially on the wood. It's probably a little weathered. And I think that the build of Duration is really going to help you to get away with 1 coat there.
And so Duration is designed for 1 coat as long as you put it on, apply it properly, and it's suggested that it goes over the same color, right?
It depends how different the color is that you're changing it. Okay. It's a great product. It's not going to make miracles happen by changing a black to a white in 1 coat. No. However, it does go on at twice the wet mill thickness of your regular paint. So that's really going to help to, especially when you're high on a ladder, you're going to get twice the build that you would from a regular product. And it's also going to have a better bond, because sometimes thicker is not better. In Duration's case, when it's on wood, it's going to create that bond, and it will be better.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Duration has pretty good color retention as well, right?
All of our paint is lifetime warranty guaranteed, and that's including color fade. There's a
Really?
couple, yes. So there's a couple of color fades that we won't, that are just expected, like your blacks and your yellows and your reds.
Yeah.
They do fade naturally in the sun. But when it comes to color retention and quality, you'll see on all of our exterior gallons that it's a lifetime warranty. A100 is an exception. It's 15 years, but hopefully after 15 years, you're ready for a color change as well.
Yeah, dark colors, dark pigments, they'll pretty much always fade. Try and stand out in the sun for 15 years and don't get a sunburn, right? Next to impossible. So it's, that's definitely something that I tell my clients about Sherwin Williams. And I don't know if there's any other paint product that carries that same kind of warranty. So that's also good to know.
We have some really nice competitors that will have those warranties as well. But I know that if, you're a homeowner and you're noticing a fade and you have a certain color house and you're really unhappy after a couple of years, Sherwin stands by all its products. And, normally if you have a painting contractor that's helped you with your home, we always try and ensure that both parties are happy with the overall project, regardless of the timeline. So,
of course, yeah. Because you're building community, and it's, word of mouth travels quite far, especially in small communities. So
yes, I've spent on the island like wildfires. So
yeah,
definitely.
Well, that's good information. I'm going to write that down and keep that in my notes. And my last project, which is probably later in the summer, it's just a basic stucco house. I believe it was built in the early 80s, so it's kind of like that salmony pink color. And there's a picture of it there. And again, it's got vinyl windows, so we're not painting anything other than the stucco. The problem is that this stucco has some hairline cracks, specifically on the east side. The whole wall is like spider cracking. Now, it's not crumbling to pieces, but there's these little cracks. And I noticed in certain areas around the downspouts, areas of where moisture is, there it is chalky, and it comes off on my hands and it's chalky. So very basic project, stucco home, California stucco. Millions of houses have this on it. What would you recommend as a product from Sherwin Williams?
So I was laughing because I asked, a couple of peers what would they use, and overall the answer was the same. But I know that the term elastomeric comes up when we're talking about stucco houses. And actually the new train of thought is that elastomeric, it's almost too thick and it almost creates too much of a profile on stucco. So if you have that really nice traditional stucco home, the beauty of it is in that texture. Mm-hmm. And if you're using a true elastomeric coating, it's going on so thick, it could actually take off some of the original stucco, or it's going to create such a profile that it's going to mitigate your stucco texture that was there. So not everyone likes this, and they really want to keep that texture. So my recommendation would be the Super Paint Exterior Low Luster, actually, for this application. Really? Or the Emerald Rain Refresh. So they're both acrylics. They both go on a little bit thinner, and they're still going to bridge the hairline cracks. I have a little measurement if you want, for if it's a too big of a hairline crack and it should be caulked, or if you're going to be okay with these coatings, and if this our paint is going to bridge that gap. And that's if it's bigger than the size of a credit card. So if you have hairline cracks and they're truly hairline, you'll be perfect with both these coatings, and they're going to bridge those hairline cracks. If it's a larger crack and it's thicker than the size, like, the edge of a credit card, that's where you would maybe want to go with something a little bit thicker, which is where our Locks On Masonry XP would come in.
Yes.
This is actually not a true elastomeric coating, but it is going to have that thicker build. You might lose a little profile on your stucco, but not nearly as much as an elastomeric. And if it's a really old house that's never been painted before, your coating's going to suck so much paint in. I might recommend this over the Emerald Rain Refresh and Super Paint Exterior Low Luster.
So the Emerald, that product, that's quite a bit more expensive. And tell me more about it. Like, what does it do specifically different from, say, the Super Paint?
So the Emerald Rain Refresh, it's the same as the Locks On self-cleaning in what they're supposed to do. So
I see.
If you have a stucco house, you already know that you have some dirt issues, you have some cobwebs that get blown, it gets stuck in the texture of the stucco. If you have a tree in the backyard, you're going to see that dirt. And especially since normal, like the look is to go for a lighter color on these homes.
Yes.
The Emerald Rain Refresh is going to, again, it's going to mitigate the dirt that even catches onto the home, as well as when it rains, it's going to wash all that dirt and imperfection away. So personally, I know which one I would be picking on some of these large stucco homes.
Mm-hmm.
If for nothing else, after a rainstorm, it's going to be looking like a fresh paint job.
Cool. Well, that's good. So the super paint, I've used that on the interior. So that also is an exterior product, or those are two different products?
So we have, the way we do our lines is it's kind of meant for our entry, our medium, and our really premium lines. And super paint interior and exterior are completely different products, but they're both in that mid-grade level. And they're both going to be, if you can't quite go for the Emerald Rain Refresh and your budget doesn't call for that, but you're not willing to go for something entry level like A100, you want that lifetime warranty. Especially if you're painting on a day like today, it's a little bit cooler. Mm-hmm. The super paint actually offers you moisture lock technology as well. So what that means is if it rains, the paint dries from the inside out, and you get lucky because if it rains within 2 hours of your paint job, you're not going to completely blow it. So
I've seen that. I've seen it, and I'll testify that it's true. In fact, what house we painted last year, it rained about an hour and a half after, and it came down on the whole side. The black clouds came out of nowhere in the middle of the afternoon, and we packed up, and literally by the time we left, maybe within an hour, it started raining and hitting the side. And I just was worried all night long. And then I woke up the next morning and came back, and it still looks good today, and it's about a year later. So I can attest that moisture lock technology is amazing, and it does work. What other products from Sherwin Williams has that moisture lock technology, or do they all?
Not all of them do. So our Resilience is really the first product that was known for that. Mm-hmm. I believe it's just Resilience and super paint, and they're meant for, I hope that this is a term, shoulder season. Yep, so, when you're in the beginning spring season or in the end fall season, that's really where I would use these products. It actually, both of them can be painted down to 1.6 degrees. So that doesn't mean that is 1.6 degrees outside. I mean, you could. It's that the substrate can go down to that low. So if you know that it's going to be 5 degrees overnight, let's say 4 degrees, traditionally you wouldn't be painting in that type of weather. Mm-hmm. But with these two products, you can. So I'll give you an example too, Paul. I have a lot of vinyl homes that I used to coat when I was living back east. And in the morning, it would be so cold, you would see actually newly or freshly painted homes have underneath the fascia have almost an icicle water staining.
Yes.
Because it was so cold, and just where the heat of the house was kind of coming out, it would be terrible. Mm-hmm. So I've never seen that once we've switched our painters to Resilience or super paint. And again, it's just some great technology. I could get into it, but I'm probably not going to be able to articulate it quite as well as some of my sales reps will be able to.
Well, that's fine, because if you're watching the show right now, there's two things to consider. You can go into your Sherwin-Williams store anywhere and talk to your rep, and I'm sure they'll be as informative, as educated as Melissa is here. So by all means, I've never walked into a Sherwin-Williams store and had bad service. That's just me. So if you're watching this and you want to go in and get some more information about it, they've got brochures, they've got friendly staff. The second thing is that if you're watching this in America, when she says 1 degrees, we're talking about Celsius here. So freezing point is 0. So if you're in America, it's probably 20 to 30 degrees or something. I don't know.
35. It's actually 35. I knew the Fahrenheit over the Canadian, but it is, it's 1.6 degrees Celsius and it's 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. So, I mean, you can paint when it's cold. I think I might have seen some guys painting when there were some snowflakes in the air before. Not recommended, but I love these products because I really think they're some of the lowest temperature applications in the market.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables when you're talking about paint. I've been painting for many years, and there's so many variables that affect a coating. Too hot, too moist, too humid, shoulder seasons, rain. There's so many different factors. A cure time. that really, me, I'm a professional weatherman. That's what most painters do, that painting exteriors, is that they're looking at the weather, every 20 minutes to see what the weather's going to do so that they can extend their painting season, or, wrap up and so that it cures properly. So that is really good information. And you're correct about the shoulder seasons. Shoulder seasons do exist in places that have 4 seasons, such as the West Coast here, the upper, Pacific Northwest, where we do actually have a spring, and it's usually quite wet in the mornings, and it's, and then in the fall when it gets cooler and you can see your breath at night, yeah, that happens. So this is a really good product. So for this product, I think I'm going to give the client an option. I'm going to look at the price between the Emerald and the Super Paint, but I'm hinting towards the Super Paint just because I do like working with it. And I know that it's a huge house, and the first coat is going to soak up at least like 15 or 20 gallons. So there's going to be at least 30 gallons on this house. So it's going to cost quite a bit, in other words.
And, that's another thing to point out, because just the way you're saying, like, between the two products, one of the things with Sherwin that is great is that we have so many products.
Yes.
One of the things that's hard is that we have so many products.
It's true.
So, I completely understand that. The great thing about coming into your local store and having the sales reps and the store managers there is we research everything, and we look up and we double check, because we know, and for homeowners, you should take solace in this. And for painters, we are a professional based company. We know that if we make an improper recommendation, it could really affect, our painters' livelihood. We could set them back. You're talking shoulder season weather. If we make you lose a week because we've made an improper recommendation, that's devastating to us. So homeowners as well, we want to make sure that we're giving you the best product. And one of the nice options for our painters is you always should be offering, A and B, or A, B, and C. Good, better, best, we call it. Mm-hmm. Because what a great upgrade for you is if you explain it and you have 2 or 3 products ready, and the pros and cons of going with the more economical product or the high-end product. To have the homeowner make that decision, it's normally going to be a better product that's also going to save you labor if they go with that higher end product. So I think communication and research, that's kind of what I love most about Sherwin Williams, is the technical aspect. And we know our painters. You guys are so particular, from the type of brush you're using to the type of painter's pants, and the hooks have to be in certain spots. We've made so many different types of paints to try and suit as many of our different contractors as possible.
Yeah, and if you're a painter watching this right now, I highly recommend you use your sales reps, like Melissa here, on a regular basis. They not only make you look good, but they also give you product knowledge, because as a painter, it's really easy to get set in your ways of using only one brand or one type. And, you don't really have a wide variety or a, wide selection of products under your belt. But by building relationships like this, I find I get an education every day talking to all my different reps. Benjamin Moore, Sherwin Williams, Dulux, even Cloverdale nearby. I talk with them. They give me information. Sometimes I can understand which products are competing with other ones. And at the end of the day, I can help my customers, give them information. And the more information that we have, the better decisions we can make, right?
So true, Paul.
So I guess that kind of wraps that up. So I'm going to use that recommendation for these 3 projects. One other last thing is that I've got a garage floor. It's my own personal garage floor. It's never been painted before. There's some oil slick marks on it, so I plan on using an acid etch cleaner to really get that out, let it dry, let it rinse out properly. That's all good and dandy, but I've seen other porch and floor and garage floor coatings that just don't hold up. So you mentioned to me last time I was in your store that you guys have an industrial line that works really well on porch and floors, concrete floors. Do you want to give our viewers just a little bit of idea of what product that is, or what you'd recommend for this?
I would love to. I'll also give, I don't want to say the lesser recommendation, but, if you have an area that you just want painted to clean up, that's okay too. And the more open and direct you can be on exactly what you're looking for, the better recommendation we can give you. So for the best of the best, industrial grade, Paul, where you're coming in after a really hot day and you're parking your car in your garage, you need to have a coating that's going to be able to withstand in case you move that tire. That's one of the most harsh things that you can do on a coating, and you're actually grinding that coating up. So first of all, you said you have oil slicks. Number one thing, prep.
Yes.
So I would be, to do it start to finish as perfect as possible, I would be renting a grinder from my local Stevenson's or any kind of tool rental company in the area. And normally they're just like 17-inch grinding pads with a diamond grinder. You'll need a little one to get into the corners, but you're going to just lightly profile and get rid of any kind of stains or imperfections in your floor using that. That's not really a step I would recommend skipping. So after you're done that, you're going to rinse out your garage and clear it, let it dry for at least 3 to 5 days. Because, you know, after that, it's an uncoated floor. It's going to have the moisture after rinsing your garage out of that concrete dust. You want to make sure that it's fully dry.
And the worst thing you can do is trap moisture or oils beneath the coating surface, right?
The worst, because you're never going to have that bond. It's almost like if you could imagine a piece of paper getting in the way of that bond on the floor, right? So
and concrete is kind of porous. When you look at it at a microscopic level, it looks like an arrow bar. It's got all these little holes, right?
100%. It almost looks like, it's rugged, right? So after you're done that, you're going to still, no matter how hard you rinse, you're going to have little particles of concrete left. And that's where I would use the acid etch or an etching solution. So that's going to actually dissolve those little concrete particles that are left. And it's going to create even more of a profile in your floor.
Okay.
Then you're going to rinse again and leave it for another 3 days. So it is a process.
Oh, yes.
But I can tell you, if you do this process, you will be able to drive your tractor trailer through your garage and park on top of it.
Now, that's a pretty bold statement.
I'm fine with that. Our Armor Seal 1000 HS is actually what we use in bunkers and warehouses. And I've actually used it on private airplane floors before. Armor Seal 1000. Yep. There is and all of our products come with full data page and instructions on how to not only mix and apply, but what temperatures to apply, the optimal roller or spray tip. It's literally just a self-directed. I think every supplier has data pages, but I really love Sherwin's because it's so technical and so simple to follow. Yeah. That, you know, even a contractor that's starting out can do this.
So this Armor Seal, I have used an Armor. I don't want a clear coat. I want a paint. Now the Armor Seal comes in a clear coat too that you can put on concrete, walkways, decorative like fireplaces and things. Is that what you're talking about too? Is that Armor Seal the same thing? That's actually what you're going to put on after if you were to put flake on top of the coating. But if you're just looking for a paint, all you need to do is you're going to take the Armor Seal 1000 and you're going to thin it with the proper thinner down 10%. So really thin coating, that's going to be your first coat, and that's going to act like your primer coat. And the reason for that is it's going to thin the coating out so much, it's going to get into all those little small crooks and crevices, and it's going to create a bond layer. Okay. Once that's done and you wait, I believe it's 6 to 8 hours, you can go on with the full 100% top coat. Okay. So again, if you're familiar with epoxies, there is a sweat in time, and you do have just a specific window, but normally 2 kits of this, one for the primer coat, one for the top coat, and a normal size garage will do about 500 square feet per coat. So really great. I would take that challenge. I hope no one's listening, but I mean, you really are going to be able to drive your tractor trailer on that. So it is an enamel, right? It's an enamel.
It's an epoxy. Sorry.
Epoxy. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So it's a 2-part. I take it it's an oil-based.
It's actually a solvent-based product.
Solvent-based.
So that's why not to quote me, but I believe it's R7K15, and it's a special thinner that you'll need to thin that and use on cleanup. It is solvent-based. So you want to be careful, obviously, if it's in your home. But when it comes to creating a coating that you're going to be able to take a car on top of, that's my recommendation.
Yeah, I've done it before in the past, and one thing that I have learned is that cure time is critical. So don't drive on the driveway right away. The longer you can let that kind of coating cure the better chance that you're going to have that it's going to last a long time. So I plan on parking my car outside of my garage for at least a month while it sits and cures, because I don't want flaking. I don't want it to have, I don't want my tires to peel it up or anything like that. So that is really good information. I'm definitely going to use that Armor Coat 1000, you say?
So it's Armor Seal 1000.
Armor Seal.
It's funny that you say that because it is prep and it is dry time, but Armor Seal 1000 is meant for industrial applications where you need to get back to work quick. So, it's so chemical and impact resistant, Paul, that if you just listen to the recommendations on the data page, 6 to 8 hours to recoat, and then you waited that heavy traffic full week, or I think it's 72 hours to 5 days, you would actually be fine driving on top of that.
Wow. Cool. Mm-hmm. That's good to know. We'll have to have you on the show again talking about all your other industrial line, because you pretty much have the equivalent, almost the equivalent same line of industrial products that you do normal retail products, right?
I think is more extensive. And again, I have to do my research. That's why I wanted to double check here, but it is seriously meant for like a warehouse, a heavy traffic facility. So I would have 100% confidence in recommending this product. Now, what I said on the other side, your homeowner, that might have made your head spin. And the Armor Seal 1K, if you've seen those Torganol flakes or those flakes that they have at Lowe's and Home Depot to create a decorative kind of pattern, you would need to coat that on top to seal in those flakes. And that's where you would use the Armor Seal 1K.
I see.
It comes for a homeowner doing their own floor. My personal recommendation is still to do the prep, to grind, get all those stains out, do the acid etch, get all those particles out of there. And then, believe it or not, to use porch and floor enamel with a Rexane coating on top. So this gets a little more technical. Most likely want to hire a painter to do this process, but that is something that I've seen done before in Toronto with amazing results. Both are not epoxies, and both are fairly easy for anyone to use.
So those are two different products that you mentioned. This one is the enamel.
Yeah, two different products. So porch and floor enamel you could leave on your garage floor, and that's where you would really want to cure for a month. But if you're pulling your car into the garage and then you're moving the tires, it's a water-based product. You are going to have some form of the coating.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, the nice thing about that, though, it being a water-based coating, is if you just were to do that without the top coat, you could always just go and touch it up where the tires are, and you wouldn't have any problems, giving it a nice fresh coat as maintenance needed.
You'll just have to park like 6 inches off to each side each time. So that's
there you go. Yeah. Well, and we also do have our HNC line, and that's really our homeowner line.
Yeah.
The one thing about the HNC line is it's from our consumer brands, like a different part of our company, and I'm not as skilled in recommending that as some of my other counterparts would be. So maybe we could bring them on the show one day and do just a homeowner garage floor segment.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. But I think what you've given me so far is plenty information for me. Again, it's not the worst garage floor. It's just something I'm going to do myself. I'm actually leaning towards that acrylic porch and floor enamel with the speckles that you said. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about doing that. That kind of, my wife would like that. It would kind of make it look better than a gray floor. So that would be kind of cool too. So I think I'm going to go towards there. So I guess now's the time that let's talk about the fun stuff, some design tips, some design stuff for the summer. The summer's coming. What does Sherwin Williams, what do you have in mind for design tips for homeowners and painters that are going to paint their house and just beautify their home?
So I'm guilty. I have a lot of design ideas that I get off of TikTok, actually. Yep. There's so many different homeowner and TV hosts that have their own TikTok accounts. And the one thing I like about that is it's quick videos, and you can really get an idea of being in the room and seeing it live in different lights. Sometimes I find when you're scrolling through magazines or images online, you're not really finding a style that you love or that's going to be realistic in your own home. So TikTok is my go-to, believe it or not. And when it comes to picking a color, so let's say I watch something on TikTok or on Instagram, and I love this type of blue, right? If I were to bring that into my local Sherwin Williams, ask someone for help. We stare at colors all day long. When I first started, I couldn't differentiate between 40 different whites. Now I can, right? Your eyes actually get trained over time. So if you were to bring that into your local Sherwin, or, whoever you really love for paint, try to be unbiased. Ask what color the person working in the store sees in that video. Ask them for a lighter version, what they think it is, and a darker version. So you have 3 different colors. If you're interested from there, if you actually sign up for a MySW account online, we do complimentary color chips. So 8x11, 4x4, and our regular color chips that you see in the store. I personally love the 8x11 color chips because I need a bigger sample to really get an idea of what I like. And
it's like a full page, right?
It's a full page size. And I also like looking at them on like adjacent walls.
Yes.
Right? So light changes colors. I know you know this, Paul. Order the color chips online. It's totally complimentary. And then if you're stuck between 2 colors, my advice would be to go for the lighter color. Mm-hmm. If they're of similar tone, I normally can make a lighter color into a darker color if you bring the gallon back into the store and you're not 100% happy. I can't make a darker color into a lighter color nearly as easy, and sometimes it's impossible. Think about your Tim Hortons coffee. I can make your dark into a double-double. I can't make your dark or your double-double back into a dark roast.
You're going to need a whole lot of coffee in order to make that, darker. I've done that before where you tint too dark, and adding white is not the way to go. It's always easier to darken it up than to try and lighten it up. So where can people go and get these? You said, I think you might have cut out there, it was mysherwinwilliams.com. Was that correct?
So it's actually abbreviated. It's just mysw.com.
Okay, easy. MySW.com. Homeowners, painters can sign up for an account, and that's where you can order these cards.
Yeah, you order those color chips. So you go there and you sign up. And if you have an account already, you can get your account number from our stores. And I love the color tools that we have there. So we actually are partners with West Elm and Pottery Barn. Mm-hmm. So once you're on there, there's going to be a lot of different trends to look for as well. Color schemes if you need help. And then from there, you can actually go to order color samples, which is on the left-hand side. And if you go and sign up, you'll know exactly what I'm talking towards. And then you just have them mailed to your home. There's no limit. I think maybe if you order, 200 color chips, you might get an email. Yeah. But if you were stuck between, 3 or 4 colors in one room, 3 or 4 colors in another, go ahead, order the 8x11 chips, order smaller chips if that's easier for you. And the color chips are delivered right to your home. This was really popular during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And I'm always surprised that more people don't take advantage of it because it is a free service. And who doesn't love big color chips? So,
yeah, like you said, it allows you to see the full color, especially when they're adjacent walls. Also, in my experience being a painter, is that when you put a color chip, especially a small one, up to a wall, it looks great. But once you get it on that wall, it tends to be darker than what you thought it was because it's so expansive. So I agree with you. Go with a lighter color, and that'll probably set you off. That'll probably do you better in the long run, and it's easier to kind of work with. You can always darken it up, like you said. I like Sherwin Williams because I found of the last couple of years, they really technologically innovated their business. So if you go to or mysw.com, they also have tutorial videos there, don't they?
So we do have quite a few tutorials, and I know that this was something that you were really interested in. There's paint training videos. There's actually even safety videos if you have a new crew and you're looking for some guidance on, where to start. One of the other great training areas that we have, though, is the Sherwin Williams YouTube channel. This is really expansive, and if you just Google Sherwin Williams YouTube channel, it will start off with all our high-end new products, talk you through, anything from how to coat a dresser to how to spray out an entire room for your first time. So pretty extensive. Homeowners and painters alike, you can learn a lot from this. And again, I'd highly recommend going and checking that out, as well as mysw.com. Even if you don't want an account, just go explore because it's really meant for professional advice.
It's a great place to get design tips, design inspiration, and start your kind of planning from there. What's your favorite colors? What kind of combos do you like to see on exterior houses, since we're kind of talking about it now? Do you have any favorites? Do you have any kind of top secret tips that you would recommend to homeowners that are painting now? Any color trends that you know about?
When it comes to color trends, I love bold.
Okay.
I've never seen, you want to fit in with the neighbors, but I've never seen anyone really get that wow factor when you're trying to match, Mr. and Mrs. Smith from up the street. If you think it's going to look good and you're going to like it, trust your gut. So I'll give you an example. On our out by our Langford Lake Lee Place house, there's one house on the street, and they went with this really, really dark, bold blue, bright yellow door, and not like that, that
Ooh.
Traditional blue, that navy that everyone's into. I'm talking like dark, almost black, and it looks gorgeous. I've also seen like some really like emerald green homes when I've been over in Luxton, which I love. And then in Oak Bay, traditional like yellow, not the most, maybe they're more traditional than I think, but I really love a pop of color. And absolutely, I'm a huge fan of an accent front door. So sometimes, you'll match your garage. I find that to be boring. I love that pop of color. And if you can, if you're really interested, on the back of all our Sherwin Williams color chips, there's actually color advice for different, like 3 different color cards that are complementary and that are actually accents to that color. So if you were to go into any store and look at, let's say, just our extra white on the back, it'll show you complementary colors and then accent colors that it recommends with that, which is really cool and takes out the guessing for
super helpful. That's super helpful. Absolutely. So yeah, you guys at Sherwin Williams, you're on top of your game. You're innovative. You have high customer service. You've got, I find, great products. So was there any other design ideas or tips that you have for us here today?
I guess the one thing, like, I'm always looking for color and inspiration in everything that I do. And, if you like something, ask. You could go as far as, if you're going to be painting your house and it's a huge task, we have these portable color matching tools in all our Sherwin-Williams store that hook up to an app on your phone. And it's called Design. I'm sorry, Paul, I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to maybe send it to you after. But even if you used our Sherwin-Williams Color Snap app, you can actually put this device on any wall of any home, and it's going to take a scan of what that color is. And then it's going to show you directly on your phone what our closest color is. There is another app I'm speaking of, and if you just go into the App Store and you go color matching tool, it's going to come up. I think there's a million different apps for color matching now, but you want to get one that will work with Bluetooth. And what this will do is it won't tell you if it's just a Sherwin color. It will tell you what the closest color is in any company, paint company on the market. And of course, Sherwin-Williams can match anything for you, but it's going to tell you what that color is, and start planning ahead. That's my advice. I know that sounds complicated, but normally you're picking a color that you've seen before. I know my powder room is my friend Heather's bathroom from a couple of years ago. I just loved. I was like, when I paint, I'm going to do this color. And if you're not sure and you just like looking at a bunch of colors yourself, start with white. And what I mean by that is get a pure white color sample, piece of paper, whatever, and start laying your colors down on that. And what's that going to do is, you might think you like that color on its own, like you said, Paul, but when you actually put it on the wall or you actually hold it up against and reset your eye, you could see a pink undertone in there, a gold undertone that you didn't know it had. I see this a lot with red and greens. A gray, this gray looks nice, and then when you get it home, it's too green. Always try to have a white palette, I'll say, to put your color chips on. And so really look for those undertones and look at the comparative colors around it.
That's a great piece of advice. Absolutely. Because if you just start with one, it looks like white until you put something next to it, and it's like, clearly it's gray. So there's a million shades of all these different colors. So that's great advice. I also like that color eye device that you're talking about, because traditionally you'd have to remove a baseboard or cut out a color of the wall or bring some piece of a door or, you know, an exterior flashing piece to Sherwin Williams, and then they'd have to stick it under their computer. But now they've automated that. So now you can just do it from the comfort of your home. You can buy it as a homeowner or as a painter and add it as extra service for your clients as well. So that's another brilliant idea. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you. And again, you know, when it comes to matching, and let's say you're a restoration specialist and you need it to be that exact same color and sheen, a real sample is always best. But if you're going to go corner to corner, 100% use that color matching tool, take a screenshot of the color that comes up, and we're going to be able to make that for you.
That's cool. And so where can people get more information about Sherwin Williams and about their products?
So again, mysw.com has a listing of all our products. It actually has information on that color snap tool, and it has a color snap visualizer on it as well. So if you're really stuck, especially for exteriors, I find this app works best on browser. If you have a really nice, clear picture of your home, you can actually upload that on mysw.com under this color snap visualizer. And the app has come so far that it's going to pick up on the different lines of the house. And you're actually going to be able to click on different areas and digitally paint your house in different colors. So,
oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's all really on mysw.com. Again, the color snap tool is that little portable tool.
Yeah.
We see mostly professionals use this, but I mean, for the $70 investment for homeowners, if you're, you know, by the end when you're pulling your hair out, it might be worthwhile for you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, many people think painting is just this easy thing, no problem. But I'll tell you, there's so many links in the chain. There's painters, there's you, there's neighbors, there's the weather, there's the products. You know, there's so many variables that bring a paint job together and have a smooth success. So like you said, plan in advance, use the right color chips and the tools from Sherwin Williams. Take some time to get some inspiration on your design using this tool at mysw.com, where you can put up your pictures and you can play with the colors. Those are great tools. So thanks so much for being on the show, Melissa. I'd love to have you on the show again. Would you do it again for me sometime? Maybe we can go into your industrial line or some other of your thousands of other different products that you have.
Yeah, I would love that. And actually that app I was talking about, it's called Nix Color Grab. So if you are interested in that, it's NIX, and that has all the different paint company colors on there and you can use that in combination with our little color matcher. But yeah, I would love to, Paul. Hopefully I gave some good advice and your viewers appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know how these projects turn out for me, and maybe I'll give you a call. You can come on site, meet the homeowner. And, you know, we can walk around the site before and after, and you can take a look at it, and we can do a follow-up discussion about it. And, yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time today to meet me on this.
Thank you.
And I'd love to chat with you again. So if you're watching this, you can go to the YouTube and watch our show there. You can also go to the design.trustedhousepainter.com, where you can get design information, or you can go to trustedhousepainter.com. You can post your project, get painters in the local area to come and give you a quote. That's the whole purpose of the app. So again, Melissa, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I look forward to talking with you again.
Thank you so much, Paul. It was really nice talking to you.
Okay. Thanks so much and have a great day.
You too.
Happy summer.
Bye-bye.